for me, if you ask what's the top benefit of the cloud, it's the fact that you don't have to have hardware. That's great. The fact that it is OpEx instead of CapEx, that's great. The concept that's all modern technology, and maybe 70 to 80% of all of the investment in technology is always is done in the cloud. Yeah, that's nice. But the real core value is that I, as a law firm, I, as a lawyer, will never have to worry about the future because everything comes to me and it will be inherited without me doing anything. That's huge.
Today on Law Next, the evolution of cloud computing in legal. My guest is Alvin Tedjamulia, who 20 years ago co-founded NetDocuments, the first cloud-based platform for document and email management, and is now its Chief Technology Officer. When he started NetDocuments, most lawyers had no idea what the cloud was. Now his company counts some of the world's leading law firms and corporations as its customers. This is Bob Ambrogi, and you're listening to Law Next, the podcast that profiles the innovators and entrepreneurs who are driving what's next in law. Before I get to my interview with Alvin, let me just take a moment to thank our sponsor. And now to my interview with Alvin Tedjamulia, which I recorded with him just as he was kicking off the ndElevate conference in Utah, his company's major partner and customer conference. Alvin, thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bob. It's a privilege for me to be here. It's exciting to be here in Park City, where we have about 300 people on Wednesday when we have customers and partners. There will be about 300 people attending the conference.
I was thinking about the scale to which NetDocuments has grown. You co-founded the company in 1998 at a time when probably few lawyers had any idea what the heck the cloud was or SaaS was. What motivated you to start this as a cloud-based platform as opposed to something on premises?
Yeah, that was an interesting question because of course the term cloud did not even exist at that time.
Yeah,
we've had SoftSolutions, which is a document management company on premise. Was most people consider it the first real document management system for law firms. We had a great market share, about 54% of the worldwide market share in document management. Was running on SoftSolutions, and then of course it was bought by WordPerfect. It was supposed to be a marriage made in heaven because WordPerfect had the contents and SoftSolutions had the technology to manage primarily at that time with the word processing. But it was short-lived as WordPerfect was sold to Novell, and then primarily under Novell, in a sense, we were an application as opposed to an infrastructure or networking or some kind of a mail system. We really did not fit with our new owners at that time. So, NetDocuments, was founded because document management is in our DNA. We wanted to do something that was similar to what we had, but it was. We thought at that time that it would be better if we innovated based on taking the document management also to the clients instead of just the lawyers and secretaries. You have to understand that with SoftSolutions, our first company, we took document management out of word processing center and brought it into the lawyers and secretaries, outside the word processing center where documents can be produced and collaborated across. And we wanted to take it to the next level when we started NetDocuments, which is bringing the clients as full citizens in a document process. And we understood that with a wide area network, that was not sufficient, but so we needed to have the internet as a foundation platform. We wanted to have that type of a focus, and of course the internet was new, but we believed that it would take off and one day become an ubiquitous platform, which we see it right now, and where documents can freely move from lawyers and secretaries to clients. So that's
Well, we can look back and say it makes sense now, but in 20 years ago, even selling lawyers on the idea of an extranet or something like that was considered exotic. So, I mean, what made you think that you were going to be able to get lawyers to adopt this idea?
Well, of course, because we lived in the legal world for so long, and I was, even before document management in the time and billing system. In fact, this time and billing system of Aderant right now was originally, written by my team. So we were very familiar with what law firms needed to have, from both a time and billing perspective and also from a document management, perspective. We felt very confident that if we created, some kind of a system that would aggregate not maybe all of the entire core of the document management corpus, but some important documents where it needed to be collaborated with clients, that would be acceptable. And we went through several generations of that. We grew slowly, but we had enough revenues to make it happen. Until about 12 or 13 years ago when we started bringing AM 100 companies. Dorsey & Whitney, I remember, was our first AM 100 company. Louis Brisbois, also joined in. So although it was difficult, there was still a lot of people that accepted it because of the core value proposition, so that we simply survived until about 5-6 years ago. Then we started really taking off.
Today, it's funny. I was looking
world.
Back just 2 years ago. I was reporting on my own blog about a ABA legal technology survey. This was in 2016. As a matter of fact, it was this week in 2016, saying at that point that their survey had found that just 38% of lawyers were using cloud computing in their law practices. I think that number was probably a little bit skewed even then. But
right.
I mean, did NetDocuments have to sell this, pitch this to lawyers? I mean, obviously you did, but how did you overcome lawyers' kind of inherent fear of moving to the cloud?
Well, we started talking quite a bit about security and about collaboration and about inheritance. I think that those are three primary cornerstones of the NetDocuments acceptance. The concept of security is, how do you solve the issue that you should not even trust your own IT group to maintain the security, because the highest breaches in security has always been internal people. So how do you protect it yourself? And then the other one is, how do you protect against subpoenas? The third is, how do you protect against nation-state attacks, which have tremendous computing capabilities to even break document cryptography and ransomware. Frankly, that's very hot right now. So if you look at what law firms can do on their own to solve those type of security issues, it is is hugely different from what the cloud can do to solve. And we won several law firms just because of that. And in fact, even some financial institutions. Because, people, after they've seen what we have, basically said, you're not a document management company, you're a security company that happens to do document management. Then there's the other aspect of this constant struggle that law firms have to always stay up to date. It's impossible to just keep up with the software releases from the vendor. How do you ensure as a vendor or as a platform that 100% of all of your users are using the same latest software? How do you ensure, as a vendor and as a law firm, that all of the law firms are having the same compliance certification for ISO 27001, for GDPR compliance, for SOC 2 Plus, SOC 2 and SOC 2 Plus. SOC 2 Plus is the financial institution standard. How do you do that? How do you inherit it? How do you inherit those? How do you inherit user interface so that without any effort everybody gets it? How do you inherit, maybe hardware security module cryptography so that all of your documents all of a sudden get it, without having to go through migrations and without having to go through a whole bunch of deployments. So the concept of inheritance, that you just don't have to do anything but subscribe, and then you in essence inherit the future, is a very, very powerful cloud value proposition.
It's an interesting way of putting it. I hadn't heard the term inheritance used to talk about that, but the idea that the advantage with a cloud product, of course, is that once you've got it, you don't have to worry about it. Essentially, it gets updated, it gets maintained, it gets security patches, everything else, and you as the customer,
right?
That's not your headache anymore.
No, yeah, there is no other hosted or on-premise technology, that can say 100% of the documents, 100% of the clients, and 100% of all the users are using the absolute latest release. That is a huge. In fact, for me, if you ask what's the top benefit of the cloud, it's the fact that you don't have to have hardware. That's great. The fact that it is OpEx instead of CapEx. That's great. The concept that's all modern technology, and maybe 70 to 80% of all of the investment in technology is always is done in the cloud. Yeah, that's nice. But the real core value is that I, as a law firm, I as a lawyer, will never have to worry about the future because everything comes to me and it will be inherited without me doing anything. That's huge.
So, Alvin, from the time you started SoftSolutions, I think it was probably 10 years before you started NetDocuments or so. Then you started NetDocuments in 1998. How has your own concept of what a document management system or service should look like, how has that evolved or changed over those years?
I think that's for me, if I look back, it's very clear. So, the first phase, document management is in essence a file management system with profiling and version control and full text searching and collaboration, that type of thing. Phase 2, it was embedding security as a very high value proposition, and also geo-awareness, so that documents can be sitting in multiple places, on-premise or in the cloud, in Germany, in Singapore, in the United States, in Japan, and have a single library concept that everybody can search across the entire universe of documents and subject only to the security system, be able to access them. So that's what the second concept is: a secured, geo-aware, global document management infrastructure. That lasted until about 2 or 3 years ago. Then it evolved for me of what it should be. It should not even be a document management system. Document management system is a service that runs on top of the platform. So it's becoming a platform for storage, for security, for global distribution, for search, for geo awareness, for AI, and all of this type of things. And then, so that's a platform. And then you have a services layer that includes document management and email management and collaboration and governance and knowledge management. And then you have a user interface, that should be available in the browser and the mobile platforms, that directly embedded into Word or Excel and PowerPoint from Microsoft. So not from the document management side. Microsoft has a program to call a cloud storage provider, where Office 365 is built in with the knowledge that certain providers are there out of the box. So NetDocuments is one. So if you go into an Android and get Office 365 like Word or Excel, NetDocuments is automatically there, without them having to put any NetDocument software. So this is a concept of a platform. It's a platform where you can build applications. Document management is one, And in fact, now we're inviting other document management systems to say, come to our platform. Do your searching with our search. Don't worry about having to implement the entropic cryptography security that we have that we build. Don't worry about the geo awareness. Don't worry about creating a search engine that can, generate, 300 to 400 searches per second, which is very, very hard to do that. We'll do it, but you focus on the application and compete against us on a document management basis, compete against us on an email management, basis. But, we're just becoming a platform that is, object-centric, document
becoming
emails,
becoming a platform in the sense that Salesforce or something like that is a platform?
Yes, very much, yes. But into the legal space, which we tend to focus on now.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, and you talked about making sure that NetDocuments is geo-aware, that the platform is geo-aware. Explain why that matters.
2 or 3 reasons. One, because of the rules of each country, it says that documents cannot leave the country. Germany, China, Russia, Singapore, a lot of countries enforce that. Others, enforce from a citizenship access, from like ITAR documents, U.S. citizens only in the U.S. So countries are forcing documents or are forcing certain documents by matter to be geolocated in certain places. Others is because of maybe the customer or the lawyer's preference. Some customers and lawyers actually, demand that their documents do not go in the cloud. So they want to have an on-premise type of an implementation. So we do that. Our documents by matter can be in the cloud or on-premise, or if it's in either place, could be in any geography in the world. And the third reason is because some customers do not want their documents to be in the law firm's document management system. Because the law firm's document management system is also hosting their competitors' documents. So for that reason, they demand that they should be at the customer side, not even at the law firm side, not even at the law firm the law firm's customers at the law firm side on premise. So because of those type of variations, we have to determine by matter where the documents sit, and the end user should not even know. It's just during the matter inception, you determine where documents should be located. And then you have a strong global engine, a global search engine that will access it across. And then you have to have the technology to make sure that the fastest route and, all of the CDNs, all of the encryption is all taken care of, across those countries. So this requires a platform. It's beyond what a document management system usually does. Right. So if the platform does that, the document management can simply utilize those capabilities to build the app.
Another point you talked about is security. And as much as, I understand what you're talking about in terms of the security layers and protocols that you provide, it did seem that for a number of law firms, security was the number one reason for them not to go to the cloud. They had this feeling that going to the cloud was a less secure option for them, that by having their documents on premises, they were more in control of all that. What do you tell firms when they make that argument?
Okay, so we highlight, the concept of dual custody encryption. Today, if you go to some of these banks, they have the outside counsel guidelines. The outside counsel guidelines says that you have to encrypt your documents, and the encryption cannot be done from the hardware perspective, but it has to be done from a application software perspective, because if it's out of the hardware perspective, the communication between the document management and the hardware is unencrypted. So it has to go into the highest point of the stack, which is the document management. So the clients are requiring encryption. The clients are requiring the law firm, prove me so that nobody inside your own organization can breach the documents outside, the front doors of the document management system. And also, the concept that several law firms, and I can point out multiple examples, have suffered from ransomware because the files exist in a storage mechanism that is enumerated, meaning that you can go through and traverse the directory structure and then find files. So all of these things, because of the requirements and because of the realities of security, law firms are being breached, and some very, very strong, prestigious law firms that are very aware of security and encryption. So then we come in and says, look, this is really the only platform that can provide dual custody encryption, meaning that not only every document is uniquely encrypted with its unique key, meaning that if I have 100 million documents, emails, and discussion threads, I will issue 100 million encryption keys, but that every one of those document encryption keys is double encrypted. One of the double encryption key is held by the law firm. The other one is held by NetDocuments, which is, the cloud processor. If you have double encryption, you automatically have two things which are impossible to be accomplished in any on-premise implementation. Number one, you have protection against self. Nobody at the law firm, not even the security person who is in charge of cryptography, can actually decrypt the documents because he only has one side of the encryption key. The other protection is silent subpoena defense, so that even the vendor, when he receives a silent subpoena request, can service the silent subpoena. It's impossible technologically wise because the other portion of the key is held by the law firm. So you have to involve the law firm in a subpoena case. Just that concept, the concept of the dual custody over encryption, is so unique. No on-premise system and no hosted system. By hosted, I mean, still three-tier architecture that it is hosted someplace in a data center, and then you have the browser to access them. But, the difference between hosted and true cloud is the fact that true cloud only has a single instance for the world, while in hosting, you have a single instance per law firm. So, so today, hosted or on-premise cannot provide dual custody encryption. Okay. The other big differentiation in security is called entropic cryptography. This comes from the fact that nation states have very, very prodigious computing power to the fact that they can grab a particular document that they do not have the encryption key, and they can start guessing the encryption key at the rate of about 10.5 quadrillion guesses a second. 10.5 quadrillion guesses a second is a lot of guesses.
Yeah.
And usually you have a starting point because you know that the document was of interest. Maybe let's say on a particular date, I'm going to just guess June of 2005. There is a reason why nation states or sophisticated hackers are interested on a particular document or on a particular set of documents, because they know that there is some kind of a value, and they usually know the date that the document was of interest. So based on that beginning date, they can perform an assault, on the cryptography that is usually generated via software. And the technology that's based on software usually has a starting date, for the encryption keys to be generated. And at the rate of 10.5 quadrillion guesses per second, you can break the document encryption easily within a week. So what we had to do is to create cryptography that is not based on software. And we have launched two years ago a cryptography that is based on entropy and quantum random number generations, which means that we have lasers in our data centers that shoots through vacuums and then hit a prism, and then we have a homodiamond detection technology that senses the presence or absence of photons in this particular prism. If there is a photon, we set a binary bit 1. If there is no photon, we set a binary bit 0. And that is so random that, any nation state with prodigious computing power has no way to feed a beginning guess, for it to start guessing. So they have to start guessing at random in the entire range of, let's say, an AES-256 encryption key. And you can mathematically prove that if you had all of the computing power in the world, not just all of the supercomputers, but all of the computing power in the world, the time that would take to decrypt the document is somewhere in the neighborhood of 3.3 septendecillion years. Septendecillion years is 40 zeros older in years than the age of the universe. And that's just to decrypt one document. And since we have unique encryption key per document, the second document still will take another 3.3 septendecillion years. So that's called, entropic cryptography. We're announcing at the ndElevate, this year, that we're going to even go one higher level of entropy, even better, which is using quantum tunneling right now. All of our technology next year will be based on quantum tunneling for entropic cryptography. So what that does is it strengthens the cryptography to a level that it is unachievable by any individual law firm. Doesn't matter how big they are, because they just cannot devote the type of effort that is required, the type of dollars that is required, to justify that level of encryption. And what we do is what we offer, is security as a service. So SaaS for us is not just software as a service. It's also security as a service. Meaning that, without any effort from their part, all of their documents, all of their emails, all of their discussions and conversations is naturally, entropically protected, and also with dual custody protection. With this type of a technology, ransomware cannot have a chance. Internal breach is impossible to happen. Silent subpoena disclosure is not possible.
It's fascinating. I'm sure no law firms are installing lasers and photons in their basements for handling their cryptography. I wanted to just turn the topic to a couple of the buzzwords that are getting talked about a lot in the legal industry, and one is artificial intelligence. And wondering, for you as the CTO at NetDocuments, what you see as the significance of AI and what you see as the potential for AI in terms of the platform you're describing.
Yeah, so I classify AI in two different categories. One is platform AI. The other one is application AI. Platform AI is something that has to exist across all of the documents and has to be built into the service itself. And something like this is, for example, prediction of metadata profile fields. So the typical example is I receive an email, without reading the email and deciding myself as a lawyer, which client and matter it belongs to, it automatically predicts and then suggests to me. And, it takes into consideration all kinds of intelligence, like what everybody else in the company has done, all of the, prior documents that have been ingested, not just from this point on. So that for me, applies to every single document for profiling, every single email. The other technology that is platform, based AI is maybe entity extraction, so that when the document is being indexed, you would gather the metadata or the metadata inside the document or the entities inside the document. So all the people's name, all of the locations, all of the company names, all of the dates, all of the dollar amounts, all of the PIIs, etc. So you gather that so that whenever you do searching, you can automatically see, who are the people, what's the dollar amounts, what are the dates, what are the email addresses inside. So for me, that's, the ability to extract, the ability to utilize those type of things to increase productivity. That is platform-based artificial intelligence.
And the use case for that is basically to automatically index all these documents without needing any human intervention to do that?
Well, the documents are always indexed automatically. We're all full text. But it's the concept that we understand that Paris Hilton is a name, okay? And then we will determine, is it a Hilton hotel in Paris or Paris Hilton the person? As opposed to text, is a string associated with an entity. It's supposed to just pure, so you start asking, who are the board of director members, that is involved here? Well, we recognize titles. So you don't have to guess, is Is Bob Jones a director? Is a director? Is Sally, Andrew is a director? You don't have to start guessing because you don't know unless you read all the documents. Here you just ask. Give me the titles, board of director. Okay, so click on the board of directors. Okay, these are the list of the people who are board of directors. So that gives us incredible data mining and the ability for any lawyer to understand quickly what's happening with his case or with all of the documents that came from search results. So any aggregate of documents, you can quickly disclose his entities. That's very, very useful. So for me, that's a platform-based artificial intelligence that is useful for any type of application. And then there are the specific, verticals like contract analytics so that you can extract clauses. Well, not all documents fit into that. The M&A due diligence world, there's lots of those type of things. Our philosophy, is that the platform AI should be part of our platform, and we do offer that. And the specific line of business practice, required AI that we will work with the community, with the Kiras,
right.
With the Ibranias,
so those become
with
apps that work with your platform.
Exactly, because really, I don't want to bet on our capacity to innovate on that compared to the rest of the world, right. Because however number of people we devote, 20, 30, hey, there are hundreds of millions of dollars being poured into hundreds of companies, that is going to innovate into those specific practice groups. So we have an AI marketplace, as well as we have a partners with the marketplace, and we are highlighting at ndElevate, technologies such as diligence, technologies such as intellects. These are AI specific segment, machine learning technologies that I think it would work absolutely wonderfully well with NetDocuments. The goal we have set with all of our partners in that area is just make sure that the documents don't have to exit the platform, to go into some kind of a, machine learning process. That the machine learning happens in the platform so that the security and the geo awareness and the search is all preserved.
I'll get back to my interview with Alvin Tedjamulia in just a moment. But first, let's take a break to hear from the sponsors who generously support Law Next. And now back to my interview with Alvin Tedjamulia, co-founder and chief technology officer of NetDocuments. And Alvin, I wanted to also just ask you about blockchain. I know that NetDocuments has been experimenting, maybe is the right word to say, with some proofs of concept around using blockchain. What do you see as the potential use cases, if any, for blockchain for legal professionals?
Yeah, we have been a very strong supporter of blockchain. And if you look at the Global Legal Blockchain Coalition, they will actually tell you that probably there's been, no other vendor that has contributed more into the technology and, into the active participation where we have several sessions of blockchain. We have, basically four different focus. One is the verification of authenticity of a particular document or a closing set, which blockchain is natural for that. Then the other one is this concept of smart contracts, the autonomous system for programmatically executing transactions. So if a contract has several transactions, every step of the transactions, can be recorded in this distributed ledger. So for anybody to see, and then you can know exactly, how well you're fulfilling the contracts. We have one of the board of director members is Peter Buck, our as a NetDocuments employee, and that global legal blockchain. He talks about, patents and trademarks, being able to automatically verify, if anybody is using, your patent or your trademark that is not part of a contract.
Right.
The other concept that we see that has huge value, in my opinion, is secured delivery of document attachments. Secured email is, everybody tries to solve the problem. Nobody has solved the problem yet, in an accepted way, because they have to either change the application or they have to, force the opposing or the destination end user to download software. So we think that, we can use the standard Outlook Exchange, Gmail, that type of a technology, to have secured cryptography with email attachments. So maybe the email is not itself secured, but all of the attachments is for sure secured. And so that's, that I think solves quite a bit of the issue of trying to collaborate without, some kind of a central cloud-based collaboration, which is still very useful. But I think, it doesn't matter what we do. Email will exist for a long time, and people will just always send whatever they want.
Right.
And the other one is the concept of the binding digital signatures. That if you know that you've agreed, in essence, that becomes a digital signature.
And that blockchain can be a better way of doing that than current forms of digital signatures?
Well, right now it's an app-based digital signature.
Right.
It's not a platform-based digital signature.
Right.
And what blockchain can do is a platform-based digital signature. The center of trust in a digital signature is still the copies of the document from whoever it is that you consider trustworthy to hold the documents. Well, here you don't have to. You don't have to deposit trust on any law firm or any vendor. So those are exciting things that I see, as application for blockchain, and we are actively doing that. We actually have applications that are ready. We're trying to determine whether or not we should release or not. And it's just because the market is still early on blockchain, so we're just waiting a little bit. But you can absolutely do document authenticity and even some secured email. But secure email, we have it in a prototype. But authenticating the document is there in that documents today.
Yeah. What else is on your to-do list? What are you looking ahead at for NetDocuments as you think down the road?
Well, one area that excites me quite a bit is this whole concept of teamworks. Collaboration, which is the other word, that law firm uses, has always been, some kind of a formal process that you define and then you collaborate there externally. Internal collaboration is all email right now. Email is an atrocious way to collaborate. We have bought the company, ThreadKM, particularly to solve this concept of teamworks, where everything is natural within the workspace. We believe that the workspace is really the center of gravity for work. 12 years ago, when matter centricity came, then it introduced the concept of workspaces as a center of gravity for documents and emails. Today, we're saying, well, if that becomes a high traffic location, I think the two highest traffic locations for, technologists and law firms are their email system and their workspace. The email system tends to be just emails. The workspace tends to be documents and emails. Every attempt to create an independent portal has failed because there is no eyeballs going naturally to an independent portal. All the eyeballs goes directly to either the email system or the workspace. Right. So if we create the workspace as a center of teamworks, so that you can just at the matter level start having discussions, and then at the document level you start actually being able to annotate, collaborate, saying, what do you think about this settlement amount, and then discuss about it, without actually altering the original document. But, there's a viewer that mirrors the document and allows you to do all of that. So all of the tasks, can be generated in there. The Kanban project management, can be generated also. I think that's a huge frontier for real productivity increases, because document management existed to collaborate on a document. We took it out of the word processing center where it was only a production, environment to, more of the lawyer and secretaries, but the tools and document management is not enough. We really need to have, discussions and annotations and, intelligent viewing of the different documents. So that for us is a huge frontier. We believe that the concept is less email, but better managed and more teamworks. Less email, better managed. We have our ndMail technology that does predictive filing. And then we just try to reduce drastically, the number of emails, but increase the collaboration value, so new individuals can join into a matter and see the whole history, of all of the discussions and transactions. that is a big gain in potential integration. Today, people try to do that with Slack, Microsoft Teams, but the problem is that it is yet another repository, has a different search engine, has a different security model, does not have any geo-awareness, so people don't tend to use it. GCs say, don't discuss matter confidential information, with this third party that has not been validated from security and everything else. Well, if you have a central repository that has the same user interface, that has, the same mobile access, the same search engine, same security, then we just open up the Pandora box to say, use it. And I think that will have very high traction.
Yeah. So you're really trying to get, it's really a change in kind of workflow, the way lawyers work, to get them to have it not be an application-based workflow and more of a seamless, integrated workflow.
Well, it's document-based workflow, as opposed to email. We'll still support emails, but instead of attaching the document, sending back and forth, and how do you annotate it? It's just part of the natural way of creating the documents. You're also collaborating on the documents, also project managing the documents. All of that is integrated.
Yeah. Well, Alvin, I've already kept you longer than I promised I would. I wanted to thank you very much for taking the time out of what's, I'm sure, very busy schedule this week with the ndElevate conference going on there in Park City, Utah. It's been really great to talk to you. Thanks for doing this.
My privilege. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. That's it for my interview with Alvin Tedjamulia, the co-founder and chief technology officer of NetDocuments. Big thanks to him and his team for making that happen just as he was kicking off a very busy week at ndElevate, the conference for NetDocuments partners and customers that was taking place in Park City, Utah. Thanks to my producer, Bob Ambrogi, who makes the show happen. And thanks to all of you for listening. If you like what you hear, head on over to the Apple Podcast store and leave a positive comment for us. Until next time, this is Bob Ambrogi.